Welcome to Healers Talk Healing, the podcast where we gather to explore the art and science of holistic healing, uncovering the secrets to a happier, healthier you. I'm your host, Nina Ganguly, and together we will delve into the intriguing world of holistic healing, delving into the mind-body connection, ancient wisdom, and natural remedies. Get ready for enlightening stories, thought-provoking expert interviews, and practical tips that will empower you to unlock your true potential and embrace a vibrant, balanced life. Whether you're an experienced wellness enthusiast or simply curious about the power of healing, join us on this exhilarating journey as we share the wisdom and insights that can truly transform your life. It's time to embark on a voyage towards a happier, healthier you. So, without further ado, let's dive into the captivating world of Healers Talk Healing. Welcome to this episode of Healers Talk Healing. I'm delighted to introduce Benjamin Lewis IV, a distinguished acupuncturist whose healing journey is deeply rooted in personal experience. Moved by the poignant struggle of his strong-willed grandfather with aging and pain, Benjamin was inspired to embrace a path dedicated to offering solace and healing to those facing similar adversities. Benjamin's arsenal of healing expertise is vast, built upon a solid foundation in naturopathic medicine, Chinese medicine, alongside certification in acupuncture. He skillfully integrates an array of healing modalities, including nutrition, Reiki, Western herbs, homeopathy, and pioneering hydrogenized therapy to tailor a comprehensive approach to chronic pain management. His practice primarily focuses on conditions such as neuropathy, fertility challenges, stress, and emotional imbalances. Though his expertise extends to a wide range of health issues, his commitment to healing shines as a beacon of hope, demonstrating that through dedicated holistic care, true health is within reach. Join us as we explore the remarkable world of acupuncture and holistic healing with a healer whose compassion and expertise makes a lasting impact. Okay, so I am very, very excited to speak today to Benjamin Lewis IV, otherwise known as Ben, aka Ben. It's exciting to have you on the Healers Talking Healing podcast. I'm Nina Ganguly, your host for the next few minutes. And, Ben, I always like to start with the same question for each of our guests, which is what is healing to you? Like, what does it mean to you?
To me, healing to me pretty much deals with balancing the whole person, making the whole person whole. Um, and that's on a spiritual, physical, and mental level. So not only are you healing the body, but you're also healing the mind. And then after you heal the body and the mind, then you go to a spiritual level, which can deal with the person's connection to nature, to the universe, to God, and also if the person believes in past lives or living multiple lives, it's also healing that from the past to now. So to me, um, healing deals with just trying to wipe away all negative energy if possible, um, from all levels, from the physical to the supernatural,
Hmm,
and just bring it all into balance to one.
I
And
love
so
that.
to me, that's healing.
I love that. I really do love that because I believe that it is always a three-pronged approach. I mean, years
Mm.
ago, I wouldn't have said so. Years ago, I would have said all of this doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand energy. I don't understand holistic healing. I was a very logical person, uh, and things only happened in the brain from like a biological perspective. But then, life changes as you deal with different things in life, and you are an acupuncturist. You're
Mhm.
a Reiki level 2. You do Chinese medicine. There's so much that you do. I would love for the listeners to really get to understand what your journey has been. Where did it start and where is it going?
Alrighty. So I'm going to give my whole story. I
Well,
won't
that's
cut it
what we
short.
want. We
Oh,
love
okay.
it. Give your whole
Okay.
story. Let's, the listen for our listeners, whether our listeners are, somebody who's already delved into the holistic healing or they're new.
Mhm.
I think the stories are important so that there's a connection.
Ah, that's true. That's true. So then let's go back pretty much to birth. So for me, um even though I'm a American, I was born in the Philippines to an American father and an American mother. My dad was in the service, the military, and my mom went over there with him. And so supposedly I was born premature, a preemie, and my mother had a tumor growing beside me. And so they had to ship, I put ship, but they had to fly from the base from South Korea and fly to the Philippines because that's where the technology was. And so I would say I am blessed to be here. And then growing up, I grew up in Tampa, Florida. And as a preteen, a preteen, I remember my pastor saying to the church, is like, God has given us health, wealth, and strength. He was like, but the church, we focus on wealth a lot, but not health. So he had the whole church fast off of meat for, I believe, a whole month. And then we also fasted off of gluten, a non-gluten diet for the same month. And that was the start of my like getting into health. He also had us on health lines and other stuff. But that was the beginning of that. And then my parents took it a little bit further. They took away the Kool-Aid, they took away the Debbie snacks, and my mom cooked more healthier choices. And so for me, my health journey started as a teenager, a preteen. And then I went to college. And when I was in college, my grandfather was a jack of all trades. And so he could fix anything and everything, but for a living, he would fix AC units.
Mm.
And so he made a lot of money doing that. And he hurt his back. And so I just remember seeing him sit on a lazy boy all day, every day, just watching CNN. And I would, go visit him and spend time with him. And it was kind of depressing because watching
Mm.
CNN every day, I was like, watching the Iraq war at the time. And I
Mm.
was like, this is like depressing. And I couldn't really stay there anymore. Um, but he would have me go to CVS and Eckert's at the time when Eckert's still existed. He would have me go there and get his medications for him. And I wasn't aware at that time, but I think he did get hooked on pharmaceutical drugs and pain meds. And um, that's when I decided I didn't want to like go the whole like pharmacy route and become a pharmacist. I was like, I want to look into more the natural route. And so
So
me not.
just to
Mhm.
ask, so when you were in college, that was what you wanted to do? You wanted to get into like pharmaceuticals and become a pharmacist?
At that time, I knew I wanted to be in a laboratory.
Okay.
I knew that. I was like, I want to get behind a microscope.
Mm.
And I really didn't know how to get my foot in the door in terms
Hmm.
of doing that, but I knew I wanted to go that route. But at the same time, people was putting a bug in my ear. Hey man, like become a pharmacist, become a pharmacist. And I grew up in Florida, and Florida has a historical Black college called FAMU, and they have a very good pharmacy program.
Okay.
And so people are like, hey man, getting your pre-med degree and all that, like become a pharmacist and stuff. And so I did think about it, but looking at my grandfather, I knew that was not the route I wanted to go. And actually, and so I said actually, but when I knew that's not the route I wanted to go, I pretty much Googled. I Googled like all natural medicine school. Like, what is a
Hmm.
natural medicine school? I Googled that, and popped up was the accreditation of the Naturopathic Medical School Association. And so I saw that there were like 5 or 6 naturopathic schools in the nation. And so I applied to 4 of them. Got accepted for an interview to all 4, but I only took the trip out to Arizona to at the time, the Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine, um, for the interview, which that school is now. It just became called Sonoran University.
Mm.
So I took the tour out here, got accepted, and I remember like a week, 3 days to a week before coming out here to Arizona to start school, my grandfather asked me to take him to the doctor. And I took him to the doctor, and he asked his primary care doctor, can he get a hospital bed? He was like, I want to go into the hospital. And the doctor was like, what's going on? Like, talk to me. And my grandfather could hardly breathe. He could hardly walk to the mailbox. By the time he had a difficult time breathing, he was like, just give me a
Mm.
hospital bed. And the doctor laughed and kind of smiled at me, and I was like, yo, my grandfather can hardly breathe. Like, you smiling and laughing, like. So that was kind of like my solidification of, like, I don't want to have anything to do with the allopathic medicine, the Western medicine.
Mm.
And so I came out here to Phoenix, Arizona, and the naturopathic school is actually in Tempe, Arizona. And so I came out here, and my first year of schooling went fine. And at the end of my first year, I went to the career specialist. And she was like, so what you want to do? I was like, I want to do my 4 years here, get back to Florida, and get back to living my life that I had back home. She
Mm.
was like, okay. She was like, well, it's illegal to be a naturopathic doctor in Florida. I was like, what? And she was like, yeah. So she's like, you're gonna either have to get a whole nother license in terms of go into another field. After you're done with here, getting this degree, you have to get a whole nother license in another field, or you would just be a naturopathic doctor in Florida, doing phone consultations, because that's all you can do, phone consultations, and you can't touch anybody, you just be having clients. And I was like,
That's
oh.
so interesting.
And so she gave me this
Hmm.
list of like two or three, a whole packet of like all the practitioners, all the jobs you can, have in the medical field. And she was like, look, and she pointed to acupuncturists. She pointed to acupuncturists, and she was like, look, you can be a primary care doctor as an acupuncturist in Florida. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, that'll be my next stop after I'm done with naturopathic school. And so um after my first year, I went into my second year of naturopathic medical school to become a naturopathic doctor. And at the very end of that second year, things just started going downhill. Like I had like failed my first class ever in life. And then the school had this new curriculum. Because I came in on this new curriculum where if you failed any class, you set out for a whole year, because they
Hmm.
will only give classes one time a year, like one time a
Okay.
year.
So you wouldn't be able
And
to take it again and you'd have to pause.
mm-hmm,
Okay.
you have to pause and come back the next year to retake it. Because instead of having like a biochemistry class, a pathology class, an anatomy class, what they did was they combined all the classes into one. So you would sit in a classroom for 3 to 5 hours a day, and they would just change out teachers. So let's say they was teaching on the lung system.
Hmm.
They would bring in the biochemistry, they'll teach you biochemistry of it. So the biochemistry teacher would come in, then they'll bring in the anatomy teacher to teach you, the anatomy of the lungs. Then they'll bring in the physiology teacher, so you'll learn, the whereabouts of, of the lungs. So that's how they changed the curriculum. So instead of splitting the classes, they made all the classes into one. And so if you felt anything, you had to sit out. And it didn't matter if it was an elective. If you felt elective, you had to
Wow.
sit out. So that happened to me, and I was cool with it the first time. And then my friend, one of my classmates, he stuck a bug in my ear. He was like, "Hey man, there's this acupuncture school," and I was like, I'll look into it." So I looked into it, and I had missed the enrollment date by like a few days.
Mm.
The admission date by like a few days. I had missed it, and so I was like, well, I know I had saved up money, saved up like a few $6,000 or so. And so I was like, I just sit out for the year and everything and relax. And which I did. I paid my rent for the whole year or so, and I was able to survive off of that at the time, with for food and all of that. So and I would just wake up in the morning, jog, make my smoothies, read books. I bought books on Black history. So this is also a time where I started learning more about Black history and also spirituality.
Mm.
So even though it was a hurtful time for me, it kind of guided me. It was the beginning of where I am now.
It's
So
interesting in our lives with those like junctures when they don't things are not going the way you thought they would go or you they should go, and all of a sudden, you're on a different path and you're like, oh, huh, maybe this is
yeah,
where I kind of should have been.
yeah, yeah. And so while in naturopathic school, it was stressful. Like that is a stressful program.
Mm,
I've heard one of the classmates I had, he had a friend that was in pharmacy school, and he was in because we were taking pharmacy classes while in naturopathic school because you learn the natural side of it, but you also learn the Western side of it.
mm.
And he was like, "Yeah, man." He was like, "My friend who's in pharmacy school, she told me that we're learning a lot more of these drugs than they do in pharmacy school." And I was like, "What?" He was like, "We do a lot more." And so, anyway, I was able to sit out for that year, recuperate, re-strengthen my body. Because the program is stressful, and I had
Mm.
a lot of colleagues that were like, I'm here in naturopathic school because a naturopathic a doctor cured me of cancer, and so I'm here now to learn and give back to the community. And while in schools, the cancer came back. That's how stressful it was.
Wow.
And so, um, I
Not
was
to
able
deter
to,
people from naturopathic
yeah,
school, just so
I
you
know,
know.
I
We
know.
should just say that,
But
right? A disclaimer. If that's what you want to
but
do, you go do it.
but just know, like, in natural school, learn how to become stress free, learn how to do things to keep you going strong while in school. And if anybody tell you that you're not a real doctor, trust, like you are a real doctor because you're learning both the natural and the Western side of it.
Mm,
Um, and you pretty much will know more than a regular Western doctor. And so I went back after I had set out for that year. I went back to school, and it happened again. I ended up like telling again. I was like, okay, life, what do you have going on, life? Like, what's going on?
mm,
And so, my same friend that was there, he was in by this time now. He's like in his senior year now
mhm.
of the natural school, and he put the bug in my ears like, hey, bro, remember that time I told you? And so I was like, okay. And so it happened again. I was like a few days short of the admission deadline, and but at that time though, I was talking to a young lady in the school, and she was like, she was going through the same thing. And she was like, no, 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 here's the phone number to the Chinese school. Call them. And so I called them. The admission lady told me to come in for an interview, and when I came in for the interview, excuse my language, she was like, you look like shit. She was like, you look terrible. She was like, you look run down. She was like, you look bad. She was like, this is what we're gonna do. And at the time I'm talking to her, like I'm talking to her, I'm like, I'm not sure what's going on with life. I'm not I'm don't know what to do. And she was like, this is what we're gonna do. She's like, we're gonna let you into this acupuncture school. And she's like, we're gonna put you into Tai Chi and Qi Gong so that you can get your energy
Mm,
back up. And we're gonna put you in these courses. Um, but she was like, we're gonna help you out. So I got into the acupuncture school that way, and life changed. Life got better. Life
wow.
got better. Um, I realized the teachers had time to teach.
Mm,
They could give stories on the medicine that they were teaching. They were not like slipping through slides like at the natural school. Like teachers like, yeah, we're gonna skip this slide. Yeah, go home and learn this. Yeah, they were just cramming stuff. But the teachers had plenty of time at acupuncture school to like teach, give stories of the medicine, and I had time to go home and study. I had time to like go hiking. I started hiking. Life just
mm,
got better. And now at the same time, I did go back to the naturopathic school. And I was like, I got one more chance to go back. I'm gonna see if I can finish it. So I started doing both schools at the same time.
wow.
But at least I was taking all the acupuncture courses at the acupuncture school instead of the naturopathic school.
Mm,
And so um I got to the end of my third year in the naturopathic school. I got to the end of the third year, and I only had one more year left, and I ended up not passing a pediatrics course. And so they were like, that was it. I got academically dismissed. And that was the first time I ever like, I guess not succeeded at something. That was the first time ever in life I had not succeeded at something. But life got better at the naturopathic school, and I'm here now today as a licensed acupuncturist.
It's
So,
so interesting. I love that. There's a lesson in there, right? There's a lesson, so
yeah.
much more than just the healing portion, which is so great. I think it's so great that there was somebody who like saw you, like literally like saw you and said, okay, like you look like shit. But like who says that, right? Who says that? It's coming from a wonderful place. And the fact that your failures led you to this
Yeah,
path and the
you did.
success of who you are today. And
Mhm.
you know what I think, what would be interesting to hear next is, you went to the acupuncture school. They said whether you're going to rule you in qigong and tai chi, and how did that actually help you in your recovery from being so worn out?
So I coming up today and learning how, Tai Chi and Tai Chi and Qigong are both like meditation and movement.
Mm,
And so, but it's with the slow movement. And these movements are connected to the organs in our body. And these organs are connected to the organ channels that I do the acupuncture on. But these movements help with getting the blood flow going. They help with getting the chi within our body, getting that moving, and they help with tonifying that inner energy in our body. It makes it stronger. And so when I would wake up and go jogging those 3 miles every other day, and then make those smoothies, and then I would end it off with the Tai Chi and the Qi Gong. So while I was learning these arts at school, I was taking them home and utilizing them, but it helped to strengthen myself,
mm.
and it helped to negate the stress that I was going through in medical school. It helped to negate those stressors, and it helped me to keep the body strong,
Mm.
and it helped to rejuvenate my body. Because it was stressful, like sitting in those classrooms for 5 to 8 hours per day, at the naturopathic school. And it was stressful to when I leave school, I'm going home and I'm sitting again to study all that I learned. I'm going over all that I learned in school, or I'm studying something from the past 3, 4 days to take an exam that's going to
Mm-hmm.
happen the next day. And so just all this sitting, all this stagnation, the Tai Chi and Qigong, it did help strengthen me
And
and keep me strong.
saying that, because we live in a world now where we mostly sit all day,
Hmm.
how does that really impact our chi? And just so for the listeners who don't know what chi is, can you speak on what chi is and then how our current overall lifestyles impacting that?
Hmm. And so for me, we say that, chi is this energy that's within us, but we're born when we're born, we're given a life force from our
Mm,
mother and from our father, and that life force is in us. And we carry that life force all through our life until we give that last breath. And to me, that's the chi that we have, this inner life force that's
mm.
connected to the universe, to nature, to God. That's that chi, that's in us. And movement is good for us. Movement keeps the blood flowing. It keeps the lymph going. It keeps the body loose. It keeps the muscles strong. Movement is good for us. And we go to these jobs and sit at desks and sit in chairs, and the stagnation is not good. It is not good for us, and it begins to weaken that inner chi within us. It begins to weaken that life force. It begins to weaken our glute muscles, our hamstrings, our quads. It begins to weaken the our back muscles, and then we're constantly using the mouse. And a lot of people have neck and shoulder pains just from the movement of the
I think you're
mouse.
you're just describing me right now.
And so this stagnated lifestyle is not good. And so when we're moving, um, the movement is good for us. And then the foods that we eat, if we are eating nutritious foods, the movement is pushing the blood throughout our body to provide nutrients to the rest of the muscles, all the way down to our toes, all the way down to our fingertips. And so a lot of people have this, this diabetic neuropathy and stuff, and
Hmm.
the circulation is not there. It's because the lack of movement.
Mm.
And if we did more of that, we really wouldn't have a lot of these diseases just by movement alone.
Join the Miracles Directory where healers connect and wellness begins. Join a community of trusted holistic professionals or find your path to healing and peace. Visit themiraclesdirectory.com. Start your journey today. That's it's such a it's a simple thing. It's
Very
a
simple.
simple thing, and
Very
yet
simple.
many of us we struggle with that simple thing of movement.
Yes.
And I will admit I am one of those people. It's not on the top of my every day. It's on my mind, but it's not
Yes.
on the top of my list. And I think you know um getting back to like the acupuncture itself, I have experienced acupuncture because I have tendonitis in my shoulders and
Mm,
in my elbows, and so I went for
mm,
physiotherapy. And at the end of the one of the recommendations that the physiotherapist said is, why don't we try acupuncture? And I had never tried it before. I'd heard of it, and I'm not afraid of needles, but at the same time, there was a concern about the level of discomfort it would cause.
yes.
And I'm
Yes.
going to be honest, some days there was very little discomfort, and some
Mm,
days there was some discomfort. And it's not necessarily, I'm going to say, it's not necessarily from the needles, but what the needles are releasing.
correct.
It's the release of the muscles and the tendons and all of that. And I started off with having tendonitis in my right side. Now I have tendonitis on my left side in my elbow, and
Okay.
I'm so tender that the physiotherapist did acupuncture the first session that I went in, and I said, okay, we need to, you just can't do that again. And I'm not deterring people. I'm saying, for me at that point, it
Hmm.
was so uncomfortable once he had, because I guess my muscles are so tight and the
So
tendons are
tight.
so whatever's
Hmm.
going on there. But like, I'd really like to know, how does acupuncture actually, like, how does it work? And what is the difference between acupuncture and
Hmm.
acupressure? And do they
Yes.
provide the same results?
Okay. So how does acupuncture work? So pretty much um we have the skin layer. We have the
Mm-hmm.
skin layer, and then under the skin is the muscle. But on top of that muscle is
Mm-hmm.
a white sheath, and this sheath is the fascia. And within the fascia is the nerve channels, the nerve system, the nerve bundles. And what happens is that fascia can become bundled, like balling up a piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
And when that fascia is bundled, um, the signals are not flowing, are not getting through. And so that lack of flow with the signals can create pain,
Mm.
right? And so what we do is we take the needles to go into that sheath, and that needle restores the signals in the body. It restores that. So if that bundle is like this, it actually starts to loosen up, and that's what causes flow. And then the needle causes also a micro trauma, small micro trauma there. And
I'm only
so
laughing because I'm like, yeah, it does kind
uh,
of.
a small micro trauma. So it's like it's causing like a little bit of like blood flow in
Mm.
that area. And once the blood flow gets there, that blood flow is providing nutrients there. And so that's
Okay.
why it's a reduce of pain there. And then lastly, that micro trauma is telling the body, hey, send some beta endorphins into this area. Send some beta endorphins right here into this area. And those beta endorphins are natural painkillers. And so once the blood flow gets there, once the natural painkillers get there, it's going to cause a reduction of the pain, a reduction of the stress and inflammation in that area. And so that's how overall the acupuncture works. And then these channels, these nerves channels are connected to the organs. So for instance, right here is the small intestine
Mm-hmm.
channel. And then right here is the Sanjiao, which is like a imaginary, extraordinary channel. And then like right here is like the large intestine channel. So these channels are connected to the organs. So these are organ channels. And so putting needles in these certain areas is telling different organs to do certain things. Like, hey, liver, start releasing hormones and balancing hormones, the sex hormones. Large intestine, start digestion. Hey, small intestine, start doing digestion. Hey, stomach channel, help out, with digestion. Hey, spleen, um, spleen, you also help out with digestion, but also start to make more blood, clean the blood. Hey, liver, clean the blood. So,
Hmm.
um, it when you put these needles in certain areas, it tells the body to start doing certain things, and
So
that's how
then
it helps heal.
is there some connection then, for instance, because I have the tendonitis and like the like I can feel it right now, the tension in my muscles. And if the
Mm-hmm.
needle goes in and are is it attached to my organs? Like is there something going on at a deeper level aside from the tendonitis?
energetic wise energetic wise, it is connected to the organs.
Hmm.
So even though I might read your tongue and read your pulse and be like, okay, like your liver organ is a little weak, like nothing is wrong with the organ itself, nothing's wrong with it. It's just your body is saying that energetic wise something is a little weak, a little bit off.
Okay.
And that so hitting that channel is going to help balance that. Now, you said the tendonitis in your elbow. Um, like this here at the elbow is large intestine 11. Um, and it's at the elbow, and I'm pretty sure the acupuncturist went to that point in the elbow to
Yes.
help with your elbow pain. So
Hmm.
locally putting a needle there locally is going to help reduce the pain there. But also this point helps out with clearing heat. It's an empirical point for clearing heat. So maybe if the body's hot or dehydrated, that can clear out heat. Or maybe if the body has inflammation of the whole body, you want to reduce the heat of the whole body
Hmm.
by reducing inflammation. Doing that point is going to help clear out the heat of the whole body and reduce inflammation. So, um, it doesn't necessarily mean that something is wrong with your organ per se, but energetic wise, something could be a little off there. And so doing that point will help the organ. But also, yes, your whole body is connected to each other. I think that's kind of where your question was. The whole body is connected to each other. So for instance, if you have knee pain, I can put a needle in your elbow for the knee pain. Or if you have shoulder and neck pain, um, putting needles at the wrist or the ankle will help with the neck pain. So
That's
everything
see, dude,
is
that's crazy. Like not
everything
like
is
I
connected.
don't believe it. I'm like, that's just so fascinating. That's what I mean.
Yeah,
Crazy is not the right word.
that's why
It's
you want to be
fascinating.
careful. That's why you want to be careful in terms of surgery, because you
Mm,
never know. You never know what's being cut through. Um, you know, patients that have digestive issues, and sometimes, they have a surgery that's done on their intestines, and then after the surgery is done, they're still having digestive issues. And then I go and look, I'm like, oh, this organ channel has been cut through. That flow of energy, even though it's on the skin, that skin has been cut through, that channel has been cut. And so that natural flow that the body had, has been disrupted. So I have to go through with the needles, and sometimes just I'll put a needle through the scar just so that I can connect that flow to the other
mm.
side of that scar.
Now you
And
answered my
then
next question because I was going to
oh
ask if it's possible for you to like recreate the flow so that there is healing that
yeah,
happens.
yeah, and I do that sometimes. And sometimes, a patient might be like, yeah, my gallbladder was taken out. I had a gallbladder surgery. And you have to be careful sometimes when doing that, because that organ had energy there. And sometimes, I'm not a person that can see
Hmm.
certain energies, but there are people in this world that they can see
Yes.
auras around people, they can see different energies. And sometimes I've seen people like, oh yeah, I saw a black hole in that person, that black hole, because that person had a surgery there, and whatever the doctor took out, now there's an empty space there, energetically wise.
Wow.
So you have to be careful sometimes with surgeries, because sometimes other things that we don't pay attention to, like energy, sometimes that gets
Hmm.
disrupted.
That is fascinating. That's actually very fascinating. I didn't know that. And how does acupuncture? So I wanted to, I'm going to rewind that question for a minute
Hmm.
and ask about trauma and healing and things that happen to us psychologically and spiritually.
Hmm.
And how does, and we, it's recent studies or more than recent studies have shown how that affects the body.
Yeah.
All of that, what happens in our younger years or generationally impacts the body. How do you
Hmm.
distinguish? Because some people don't have that and some people just get injured or whatever and have pain. For you as an acupuncturist and all the other, healing modalities that you've learned and taken on, how does that help you distinguish, oh, this is just, it's not just, acute pain. It goes beyond that. There's something else there that also requires healing. So I guess I'm asking like a chicken egg question.
Hmm.
You've got the trauma, maybe you don't remember or you do remember, but your back and your neck are hurting all the time, or this is hurting all the time.
Hmm.
And so as a healer in the arts that you use, how how do you determine, oh, there's this that's happening? Or does it matter that it's something that's come from the past and you can, you've just seen that the energy is not flowing there, and as you work with the client, you get the work that you do just kind of ends up releasing it.
Yes. So to answer your question,
I know that was a long question.
now it was a good question, a very good question. For the most part, usually when I'm treating patients, and my goal is to have the patient's pain gone or at least reduced by 80% within like
Mm,
2 weeks. That's my
wow.
goal as a practitioner. I'm like, I want to get this
I need to
patient
fly out to
feeling better.
Arizona, I think.
And and most times it does take longer. But like for me, I notice, okay, the patient came in with back pain or shoulder pain. Okay, I got the pain reduced, but it comes back every 2 to 3 days. I'm like, okay, what is this patient doing outside of here? Outside this clinic? Like, what are they going to? Like, like, are they going back to work to stress at work? Are they going back to stress at home? Are, this patient, we get their lungs feeling better, we get their cough reduced, but they're constantly having sinus issues, they're constantly having lung issues, like, and the lungs deal with grief. Like, is this person
Mm,
depressed? Like, are they, did they lose a loved one? Is there grief that they have not released yet or let go? Like, what is it? So when I see that my treatments are not really working per se, and it's not really clearing up what's going on, and this patient is with me for 3 months, 6 months, um, you know, for the most part, yeah, I'm already on it, but I'm addressing that there is something more to just this physical pain. There's more to
mm,
it. And so as a practitioner, that's when I look more deeper, like, okay, there's more to this.
okay.
Because you should be getting better. And if you're not getting better, then there's something
There's
that's
something
wrong.
going on. Okay.
And then that's when I started to tell patients, okay, we need to look at this in a more spiritual point of view. I can do Reiki on you. We need to clear out maybe some emotional pain. Maybe there's something emotional that's trapped in the body that we need to release. And acupuncture is going to do that no matter what. Acupuncture is doing that all the time. But I know for the most part, I'm like, we need to seek other avenues on to address this.
Mm, I like that. I like that because I think it's like that's where the holistic piece comes in as
Hmm.
well. It's like, you
Hmm.
know, when trauma is stored in the body,
Yes.
there's many, obviously we know there's many different ways of releasing it. But,
Hmm.
me experiencing, I have experienced different modalities for releasing energy and releasing trauma and all of
Hmm.
that. And I didn't think that acupuncture honestly could do something like that. It didn't occur
It
to me.
can.
For me, it was like, oh, it's just pain relief. Like, my elbow hurts. I'm going to go to the physiotherapist. He's going to do whatever little adjustments that he does. He'll put some
Hmm.
needles in. I will be in slightly uncomfortable or maybe a little more than slightly uncomfortable, especially when he puts the needle right into my elbow, which is my biggest pain point. Um,
Hmm.
Never, like, I should really be in a private room when he does that. Because if there's other people around, I'm very sensitive to pain. So it's interesting, but it really, like, thank you for sharing that because I don't think a lot of people understand that it's not Tylenol, it's not Advil, it's not like you're
Correct.
just taking something for pain
Yep.
relief. You're actually looking at so much more like, how is this all functioning in the whole body? And then, like you said,
Mhm.
if there's something that's like, this should work and it's not working, you begin to look
Mhm.
at, okay, what is going on that you're not telling me, or that maybe I haven't asked the right questions, or,
Yep.
not that you haven't
Got
asked the
it.
right questions, you just weren't at that
Mhm.
space, you know.
Yep.
So what happens with those clients that you have who come in and who are a little like, I'm not sure about this stuff, you know,
Mhm.
like if you had asked me 10 years ago about, acupuncture and it releases energy, I would have been like, no, I'm going to go to a therapist and I'm going to
Yes.
talk to the
Yep.
therapist. I don't know how this is going to work. How do you work with clients like that, who, like, does it impact the ability for energy to move if someone is a little
Unreceptive.
cautious?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm. Yeah. So usually, let me give different scenarios. But usually when a patient first come in, they're like, I'm scared of needles. So what I do is I explain to them kind of what I said earlier. I'm like, okay, I'm going to put the needle through the skin. We're going to go to the muscle layer, into the fascia, and it's going to just release some blood flow just to get you feeling better. And I say, here's the needle. I wish I had one on me right now, but I'm like, here's the needle. It's very small, very thin, and I'm going to go right here. And I go right there. And they're usually like, oh, that's it? I'm like, yeah, that's it. They're like, just that prick? I'm like, yeah. Some points you might feel, some you might not. Usually the points that you feel are the ones that you need. Usually the tender ones are the ones that you need. And then they're like, okay. And then if they have any other fears about it, they're like, so what is this? I'm like, well, this is just using a needle to utilize your energy, what's inside of you. We're not doing any spells, we're not doing any hocus pocus. Like, I'm not pulling anything from anywhere. This is just your energy, your blood flow. We're just getting things moving. So I'm not putting anything in you. There's no medicine on the needles. I'm not putting any medicine on the needles or anything. And I forgot to answer your question about acupressure.
Mm,
Um, Acupressure and acupuncture, they use the same points. It's
okay.
just that instead of using a needle with acupuncture, we just press on the point. For acupressure, there are these pins out there that they send electrical stimulation, but there are
Yeah,
these
my
little pins.
a friend of mine was telling me, oh, doesn't
Hmm.
your physiotherapist put a little electric stuff on your needles?
Yeah.
I'm like, I hope not. He's like, because I'm already feeling enough stimulation. I don't want any more.
Yeah. Yeah. See, you're sensitive to your body. So you
Yeah.
actually can feel tingling. You can feel like warmness. Sometimes patients might feel a little small, like heaviness, but that's when you're sensitive to your body that you can say, okay, like I can feel something going on. But yeah, sometimes the acupuncturist might use a little needle that has a little electrical stimulation on it
Hmm.
to stimulate the point, or they'll use a needle, a regular acupuncture needle, and put e-stim to it, which has known to be very, very effective. Very effective.
I'm
Um,
already getting nervous when you're saying that.
but with acupressure, my acupuncture teacher, he actually told me that acupressure works better. It's something about human to human touch.
Mm,
Human to human touch, he say, is more effective. And so you might have a practitioner press on a point for 30 seconds to 3 minutes and just hold it. And holding that point will stimulate come back to me, the receptors, the
mhm.
nociceptors, but the receptors on the skin, it'll stimulate those receptors um to that's on the skin to send signals to the other body to start doing other things.
I
So
can get that because as a Reiki master,
mm-hmm,
when I have somebody in front of me versus a distance, because
mm-hmm,
you can, as you know, you can do both. But when you
yeah,
have someone in front of you on a table and you are applying healing touch, it's it's incredible because I think the healing kind of goes both ways,
it sure does.
right?
It sure does.
Like it goes both ways. Like
It goes both
I
ways.
get as much out of it, I think, as the client gets, not only
Mm-hmm.
because, I feel like I've done a service where, it's helping someone move and so you get that little endorphin rush, but it's just, I don't know about you, but when I've done a session, I am
Yes.
on a high for quite a long time.
Yeah. Yep. I have I had a colleague, um, who I also went to school with later on, when I did get an acupuncture job, outside of also having a clinic, but when I
Mhm.
did get an acupuncture job, he was the clinic manager. And he was a young guy who happened to have gray hair.
Mm.
He had white hair, white beard, and it was naturally that way. And as he was doing acupuncture on the patients, his beard started to grow black, get color back. It was going
Wow.
black because the healing goes both ways. So he was actually getting black hair again.
That that is so incredible to hear. And for those of you who don't, who are kind of on the fence of like, do I want to try something like this? Do I not want to try something like this? I would really recommend to keep an open mind. Unless you have a phobia with needles, then maybe acupressure would be the better one to
Yeah,
go with.
acupressure.
And Reiki, because you're also, you also have a Reiki background as well.
Hmm.
But where is your clinic? And if those listeners who are in the area, and you're in Arizona, so where is your clinic
Hmm.
located?
So, in the Phoenix metropolitan area, my clinic is actually currently in Tempe, Arizona. Um, I am on Mills Avenue in between Broadway and Southern. And so if you want me to give the full address, it is currently at 2121 South Mill Avenue, Suite 223, um, Tempe, Arizona, zip code 85282. So yeah, I am currently located in Tempe, Arizona.
That is amazing. And if anybody wants to follow you, you are also on social, correct?
Yes. So I am still making a social for my Instagram page for my website for my clinic, but you can still on Instagram reach me at Royal Lewis. It is Royal Lewis IV. That is my Instagram tag. And then my Facebook is Benjamin Lewis the Fourth, and I do have a not only a personal Facebook page, but also a Benjamin Lewis the Fourth business page too. I do
Amazing.
acupuncturist.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And if you like what you heard listeners, and you are in the area, please do give a shout to our friend Ben. And if you're looking for him and you didn't catch all that, he's on the Miracles Directory, miraclesdirectory.com. You can find him there if you look up under
Call me
acupuncture,
directly.
right? And then you can get to him directly. It's been such a pleasure having you with us today, Ben. I loved our
Thank you.
conversation. I learned so much, which, if I walk away learning something out of these conversation, I think it's a plus. So thank you so much for what you do in the world and the people that you serve. Stay blessed,
Thank you.
and we'll see you soon.
Alrighty.
Thank you for joining us today on Healers Talk Healing. We hope you've been inspired and empowered on your holistic healing journey. If you've enjoyed today's episode and want to continue learning and growing with us, don't forget to subscribe, follow, rate, and review our podcast. Your feedback and support mean the world to us. Remember, healing is a lifelong journey, and you have the power to transform your life in profound ways. Stay curious, keep exploring, and never stop believing in your own capacity for healing.